For the past 6 years, I have been walking Walmart aisles with a specific strategy. While everyone is racing toward the same big ticket prepper items and clearing out shelves of the obvious stuff, I am quietly filling my cart with items that cost less, store longer, and will still be sitting there when the panic buyers have moved on. Number 14 is sitting in your Walmart right now for under $4, and it solves a problem that most preppers spend $50 trying to fix. The issue is that when everyone watches the same prepper channels and follows the same advice, those items vanish first. I watched it happen in March 2020. Certain aisles were completely bare, but 3 aisles over, items with the same shelf life and better nutrition were fully stocked. Nobody touched them because nobody knew. Today I am walking you through 17 items at Walmart that will not last once word gets out. And if you are new here, go ahead and subscribe right now because I drop videos like this every single week that save you money and keep you ahead of the curve. Number 1. Canned coconut milk. This one sounds boring until you realize what it actually does. Most people grab it for recipes and move on. Here's what nobody talks about. Each can contains around 50 grams of fat. Your body does not just want fat during a crisis, it needs it. Fat is what keeps you warm, keeps your brain working, and keeps you full. Last February during that freeze in Texas, I had neighbors running generators just to stay warm. I was comfortable because I had been drinking hot coffee with coconut milk stirred in. The fat content kept my body temperature stable. Here's the mechanic. You can add it to soups, rice, coffee, oatmeal, anything. 1 tablespoon transforms a boring meal into something your body can actually use for fuel. It can cost about $2 at Walmart. Compare that to freeze-dried meals at $7 a pouch that leave you hungry an hour later. And here is why it survives. Preppers obsess over freeze-dried Mountain House meals and overlook the canned goods aisle entirely. Coconut milk sits there untouched. Look, inflation is not slowing down, and most people are one paycheck away from panic. I have done the work for you and put together a free Walmart emergency pantry list that shows you the exact 17 items I buy, where to find them, and how to store them. It will cover your family for 2 full weeks and costs less than a single grocery trip. You can grab it for free at the link in the description so you can stop worrying about what to buy and start actually building a smart stockpile. Number 2. Bouillon cubes. This is going to sound too simple, but stay with me. Chicken, beef, vegetable, whatever. These little cubes are pure concentrated flavor and salt. Here's the insight most people miss. Food monotony during a stressful situation will break you faster than hunger. When you are eating plain rice for the 3rd day straight, your brain starts shutting down. Decision fatigue sets in. 1 bouillon cube in a pot of rice or beans changes everything. It tricks your brain into thinking you're eating real food with variety. I have cubes in my pantry right now that are 4 years old, still perfect. Here's what I do. I crush 1 cube into 2 cups of water while cooking rice. That is it. A jar of bouillon costs about $3 and contains enough cubes to flavor 50 meals. Meanwhile, people are spending $15 on seasoning kits marketed to preppers, and nobody fights over bouillon. It is in every Walmart. But once people realize what it does for morale, that changes fast. Number 3. Instant coffee. Before you say you do not drink coffee, listen, this is not about caffeine addiction. During the last major supply chain disruption, coffee prices spiked 40%. People were paying $20 for a bag of grounds. Instant coffee sat untouched. Here's why it matters. Caffeine is a tool. It keeps you alert when you need to make decisions. It keeps you warm when you add hot water. And it is a massive morale booster when everything else feels like survival mode. I keep 6 jars of Walmart brand instant coffee in my pantry. Each jar cost $4. That is 300 cups of coffee. Last winter during a power outage, I used a camping stove to boil water and made coffee for my entire block. People cried. I am not exaggerating. Here is the bonus. Instant coffee never goes bad if you keep it sealed. I opened a jar from 2019 last month. Tasted the same. The big prepper brands want you buying specialty freeze-dried coffee at $12 a pouch. Skip it. Grab instant. Nobody notices it until it is gone. Number 4. White rice in bulk. This one sounds obvious, but here's what most people get wrong. They buy the small 1-pound bags or the boil-in-bag nonsense. That is a mistake. Walmart sells 20-pound bags of long-grain white rice for around $8. That is 40 cents a pound. Here's the fact that changes how you see it. White rice stored properly in a food-grade bucket with an oxygen absorber will last longer than you or I will be alive. 30 years minimum. Brown rice goes rancid in 6 months. White rice is stripped of the oils that spoil. I bought 4 20-pound bags 2 years ago, still sitting in my garage in sealed buckets. I pull from them every week. Here is the mechanic. You do not need fancy Mylar bags. Buy the rice, put it in a bucket with a gamma seal lid, toss in an oxygen absorber, and forget about it. 1 20-pound bag feeds 1 person for a month if you are rationing. And here is why it survives shortages. Panic buyers grab the small bags because they are easier to carry. The bulk bags sit there for now. Number 5. Canned tomato paste. This one is absolute gold and nobody thinks about it. Tomato paste comes in those tiny 6-ounce cans for about 60 cents each. Here's what makes it genius. It is concentrated. 1 small can turns into an entire pot of tomato sauce when you add water. It adds acid and umami to anything you cook, which makes bland food taste like real meals. Last year I made chili using nothing but beans, rice, tomato paste, and bouillon cubes. It tasted better than anything I could have bought pre-made. Here is the trick: you only need 2 tablespoons per pot of food. One can gives you 3 meals. A case of 12 cans costs $7 at Walmart. That is 36 meals of flavor. Compare that to jarred pasta sauce that costs $4, takes up 3 times the space, and goes bad after you open it. And here is the kicker. Tomato paste has a shelf life of 18 months, but I have used cans that were 2 years old with zero issues. The acid preserves it. Nobody rushes the tomato paste aisle, they go for the jars. Number 6. Peanut butter. I know you have heard this one before, but here is what the mainstream advice gets wrong. They tell you to buy the natural stuff with no sugar. That is a mistake. Natural peanut butter separates, requires refrigeration after opening, and goes rancid faster. Walmart brand peanut butter in the big plastic jars has added oils and sugar that actually extend the shelf life. A 40-ounce jar costs about $3. Here is the insight: peanut butter is one of the most calorie-dense foods you can store. 2 tablespoons is 200 calories. If you're rationing, that matters. During a grid-down situation, I can survive on peanut butter, crackers, and water for weeks. I tested this during a camping trip last summer. I ate nothing but peanut butter and rice cakes for 5 days. I felt fine. Here is the mechanic: you do not even need a spoon. You can eat it straight from the jar if you have to, and here is why it survives. People buy 1 jar at a time. They do not stockpile it because they think it is boring. That is your advantage. Number 7. Canned chicken. This is the item I teased earlier, and it is a game changer. A 12-ounce can of Walmart canned chicken breast costs about $2. Here's what most people do not realize: that is 12 ounces of pure cooked protein. No refrigeration needed, no cooking required. You open it, drain it, and eat it. I keep a case of 24 cans in my pantry. That is 18 pounds of chicken. Last time I checked, fresh chicken breast was $4 a pound and required a working freezer. Here is the story. During a power outage 2 years ago, my freezer full of meat spoiled. All of it. I lost probably $80 worth of food. My canned chicken sat there untouched. I made chicken salad, added it to rice, mixed it with mayo and crackers. We ate well while my neighbors were grilling everything before it rotted. Here is the mechanic: open the can, drain the water, shred it with a fork. Add it to literally anything, and here is why it survives shortages. Preppers go for freeze-dried meats at insane prices. They skip the canned aisle because it feels too simple. Number 8. Vegetable oil. This one is going to sound strange, but it is critical. A gallon jug of vegetable oil at Walmart costs about $6. Here's why it matters: oil is fat, fat is calories. 1 tablespoon of vegetable oil is 120 calories. If you are in a situation where food is limited, you can drizzle oil over rice, beans, or pasta and double the calorie count. Your body will burn fat for energy when carbs run out. I learned this from a guy who spent 30 years working in disaster relief. He told me that in every famine situation, people survive longer when they have access to fat. Here's what I do. I keep 2 gallons of vegetable oil in my pantry at all times. I rotate through them by cooking with it. It does not go bad for at least 2 years if you keep it sealed and away from light. And here is the shortage factor: when people panic buy, they grab canned goods and water. They ignore the oil aisle completely. That is your window. Number 9. Dried beans. I know this is prepping 101, but here's what everyone gets wrong: they buy the 1-pound bags. Stop doing that. Walmart sells 4-pound bags of pinto beans for about $4. That is $1 per pound. Here's the fact nobody mentions: dried beans stored in a sealed container will last 10 years minimum. I have beans from 2015 that I cooked last month. They tasted perfect. Here is the nutritional breakdown. 1 cup of cooked beans is 15 grams of protein and 240 calories. Compare that to a freeze-dried meal with 8 grams of protein at $7. Here is the mechanic: soak the beans overnight in water, drain them, boil them for 90 minutes, add bouillon or tomato paste. You now have food that will keep you alive. And here's why they survive. People think beans are complicated. They are not, but the fear keeps them buying easier options. The bean aisle stays full longer. Number 10. Powdered milk. This one has a bad reputation because people remember the taste from the 1980s. It has gotten better. A box of powdered milk at Walmart costs about $8 and makes 8 quarts. Here is the insight: powdered milk does not need refrigeration. It lasts up to 2 years in the box. Once you mix it with water, it lasts 5 days in the fridge, but if the power is out, you mix only what you need that day. Here is why it matters. Milk provides calcium, vitamin D, and protein. During a stressful situation, your bones leach calcium if you are not getting enough. I learned this the hard way during a long camping trip where I ate nothing but rice and beans for 2 weeks. I felt weak. Adding powdered milk to my coffee and oatmeal fixed it. Here is the mechanic: mix 1 cup of powder with 4 cups of water, shake it, let it sit in the fridge for a few hours if you can. If not, drink it immediately. It tastes fine. And here is the shortage factor: nobody wants powdered milk until fresh milk is gone. By then it is too late. Number 11. Canned corn. This is one of the most underrated canned vegetables, and here is why. Corn is a starch. It has carbs that give you energy. A can of Walmart corn costs about 60 cents. Each can has around 3 servings. Here's what makes it genius. You can eat corn straight from the can, no cooking required. You can heat it if you want, but you do not have to. That matters when fuel is limited. I did an experiment last year. I ate nothing but canned corn, canned chicken, and rice for a week. I felt completely fine. The variety kept me from losing my mind. Here is the mechanic. Open the can, drain the water if you want, eat it with a spoon or add it to rice. That is it. A case of 12 cans costs $7. That is 36 servings of vegetables for the price of a fast food meal. And here's why it survives. People go for green beans or peas first. Corn sits there. Number 12, ramen noodles. I know what you're thinking. Ramen is junk food. You are right, but here's what matters in a survival scenario. Ramen is calories and it is filling. A pack of Walmart ramen costs 12 cents. 12 cents. Here's the math. One pack is 380 calories. If you ate nothing but ramen, you would need about 6 packs a day to survive. That is 72 cents per day. For a month, that is under $22. Now I am not saying eat only ramen. I am saying it is a cheap foundation that you can build on. Add canned chicken, add vegetables, add bouillon, add an egg if you have one. Here is the story. During college, I lived on ramen for an entire semester. I was broke. I stayed alive. It is not glamorous, but it works. Here is the mechanic. Boil water, add the noodles, add the seasoning packet, add anything else you have. And here's why it survives. People dismiss it as college food. They do not see it as a prep item. That is a mistake. Number 13, oatmeal. Not the instant packets. Those are overpriced. I am talking about the big cardboard cylinder of Walmart brand oats. It costs about $3 and contains 30 servings. Here is the insight. Oats are whole grain. They provide fiber, protein, and slow-burning energy. You eat oatmeal in the morning and you stay full for hours. Compare that to sugary cereal that spikes your blood sugar and crashes you 30 minutes later. Here is the storage factor. Oats last up to 2 years in the sealed container. I have a container from 2021 that I am still eating from. No issues. Here is the mechanic. Boil water, add half a cup of oats, cook for 5 minutes, add sugar or honey if you have it, eat. If you do not have a stove, you can pour boiling water over oats in a bowl and let them sit for 10 minutes. They soften. And here's why they survive shortages. People go for the instant oatmeal packets because they are convenient. The big containers sit untouched. Number 14, salt. This is the item I mentioned at the beginning. A container of iodized salt at Walmart costs about 50 cents. 50 cents. Here's what most people do not understand. Salt is not just for flavor. It is a preservative. It is a mineral your body cannot produce. If you are sweating or under stress, you lose sodium fast. Low sodium causes confusion, weakness, and cramps. I learned this during a summer hike where I did not bring enough salt. I felt dizzy and weak. I ate a pinch of salt and felt better in 10 minutes. Here's the mechanic. You need about 1 teaspoon of salt per day to survive. A container holds about 300 teaspoons. That is 300 days of sodium for 50 cents. Meanwhile, preppers are buying electrolyte tablets at $20 a bottle. Here is the kicker. Salt never goes bad, never. I have salt from 5 years ago, still perfect. And here is why it survives. People buy one container and forget about it. They do not stockpile it. You should. Number 15, canned tuna, another classic that people ignore. A can of Walmart tuna costs about 80 cents. Here's the breakdown. 5 ounces of tuna per can, 20 grams of protein. Omega-3 fatty acids that your brain needs to function. Here is the story. Last year I went on a strict budget and ate tuna sandwiches for lunch every single day for 2 months. I saved over $300. My energy stayed high. My focus stayed sharp. Here is the mechanic. Open the can, drain the water or oil, mix it with mayo if you have it, eat it on crackers or bread or straight from the can. A case of 12 cans costs about $10. That is 240 grams of protein. Compare that to protein powder at $40 a container. And here's why it survives shortages. People go for canned chicken or salmon first. Tuna gets overlooked, but not for long. Number 16. Crackers, specifically the big boxes of saltine crackers. A box at Walmart costs about $2 and contains 4 sleeves. Here's why crackers matter. They are a delivery system. You can put peanut butter on them, tuna on them, cheese on them if you have it. They turn a boring protein into a meal. Here is the storage trick. Crackers go stale fast once you open the sleeve, but if you keep the sleeve sealed, they last 6 months easy. I tested this. I opened a sleeve from 8 months ago and they were still crunchy. Here is the mechanic. Open one sleeve at a time, eat them within a week, move to the next sleeve. A box gives you about 80 crackers. That is 20 meals if you're pairing them with protein. And here is why they survive. People do not think of crackers as a prep item. They think of them as a snack. That is your edge. Number 17. Sugar. The last item is dead simple. A 4-pound bag of Walmart sugar costs about $2.50. Here's why sugar is critical. It is pure energy. It is a morale booster. It makes bad coffee drinkable and bland oatmeal edible. Here's the long-term factor. Sugar stored in a sealed container lasts forever. I am not exaggerating. Forever. I have sugar from 10 years ago. It clumped a little, but I broke it up and it works fine. Here is what I do. I keep 2 bags in my pantry at all times. I use sugar in coffee, in oatmeal, and in tea. It makes everything better. And here is the shortage factor. When panic sets in, people go for the sexy prep items. They skip sugar because it feels basic. But basic is what keeps you sane when everything else is falling apart. Look, the world is chaotic right now. We see the headlines, we feel the pinch at the gas pump and in the grocery store. It's easy to feel overwhelmed, like you need a bunker full of expensive gear just to survive the next storm, whether that storm is economic, meteorological, or something else entirely. That panic is what keeps you spinning your wheels and throwing money at solutions that vanish the second true scarcity sets in. That's the trap. We just spent the last few minutes walking through the back aisles, the forgotten shelves, and the basic, boring essentials that the self-proclaimed experts overlook. They are looking for the complicated, the high-tech, the expensive, and you now hold the keys to the simple, effective, and cheap approach. You have learned how to bypass the panic buyers and secure a solid foundation for resilience without emptying your bank account. Think about it: coconut milk for essential fat, bouillon cubes to save your sanity from food monotony, bulk white rice that lasts longer than your mortgage, and the humble 50-cent container of salt that solves a medical crisis preppers spend $20 trying to fix with fancy tabs. We've covered protein with canned chicken and tuna, pure energy with peanut butter and sugar, and the foundational calories of dried beans and ramen. This isn't just a list of groceries, it's a strategy. It's the difference between being a panic buyer caught in the rush and being a smart, quiet prepper who already has what they need, sitting patiently on their pantry shelf. The goal here was never to break the bank. It was to give you peace of mind for less than the cost of a Friday night takeout order. You now possess the list of items that survived the first wave of shortages. These are the items that were sitting untouched in 2020 while the obvious essentials vanished. Why? Because they are basic, they are simple, and they don't have aggressive marketing campaigns behind them, but they are potent. $1's worth of dried beans and $1's worth of tomato paste, combined with a few bouillon cubes, transforms into a meal that will sustain your energy and your morale far better than any $7 freeze-dried pouch. This is about practical longevity, not flashy gear. It's about being the person who is prepared, not the person scrambling for the last bag of whatever is left. So here's your call to action. Stop watching the same videos telling you to buy the same $20 pouches of freeze-dried sludge. Close your computer, take this list, and walk into Walmart. Go straight for the big bags of rice, the plastic jars of peanut butter, and the cases of canned chicken. You don't need a special trip or a dedicated weekend. You can start this stockpile today, right now, on your next lunch break. Every can of tomato paste, every jar of instant coffee, and every carton of oatmeal is a small step toward independence and resilience. It's about preparedness that makes sense, preparedness that works, and preparedness that is available to everyone, regardless of their budget. Start small, start smart, and stop following the herd. You are now equipped with the knowledge to build a real effective pantry that will not only feed your family, but keep your spirits up when things get rough. Don't wait for the next crisis to validate this list. Start building your foundation now. Get out there and stock up on the boring stuff that actually works, and I'll see you next week when we expose the gear everyone buys that is actually useless. The strategy we've laid out isn't about being a survivalist, it's about being a realist. It acknowledges that the biggest threat to most families isn't a sudden, apocalyptic event, but rather sustained economic pressure, localized disruptions like a week-long power outage, or the anxiety that comes with seeing grocery store shelves slowly empty. The foundation of this method is leveraging high-calorie density, maximum shelf stability, and minimal cost, all while selecting items that are consistently overlooked by the masses. We're targeting the quiet efficiency of the staple food, the workhorse of the pantry, not the glamorous one-off purchase. Consider the power of blending these simple items. That $8 bag of white rice is a vast reservoir of basic calories. It's inert, lasts decades, and is the perfect blank canvas, but plain rice quickly becomes soul-crushing. This is where the tactical additions come in. A pinch of 50-cent salt for essential electrolytes, a spoonful of $3 bouillon for flavor and morale, and a ladle of $2 canned coconut milk for life-sustaining fat. You've transformed 40 cents worth of rice into a nutritionally rounded, palatable, and satisfying meal for less than $1. That level of cost to benefit is simply impossible to achieve with pre-packaged freeze-dried options. The items on this list, from the humble instant coffee that provides psychological fuel during a dark morning, to the dense protein of canned chicken that keeps your physical strength up, form a robust and interconnected system. They are interchangeable and designed to layer flavor, fat, and protein onto the cheapest possible caloric base. You are not just buying food, you are buying flexibility. If you run out of rice, the dried beans step up. If you tire of beans, ramen noodles provide a quick, hot, and satisfying alternative. Every item serves a specific, multifaceted purpose, ensuring that your stockpile doesn't just fill space but actively contributes to your well-being, both physical and mental. The truth is, most panic-induced purchases are driven by emotion and herd mentality, not logic. When people see others grabbing bottled water and expensive canned stews, they follow suit, creating the scarcity they fear. By focusing on the bulk bags, the concentrated pastes, and the basic ingredients, items like the powdered milk that sits idly until dairy aisles are bare, or the vegetable oil that doubles your caloric intake per serving, you are operating outside of the panic loop. You are using rational economics and nutritional science to make your decisions, securing your family's supply chain before the rush even begins. This preparation is a quiet act of defiance against fear-mongering and consumerism. This is your roadmap to sustainable, affordable preparedness. Forget the Mylar bunkers and the $1,000 storage systems. Your best asset is the knowledge of what works, what lasts, and what everyone else overlooks. The goal is to move from a place of anxiety to one of calm confidence, knowing that no matter what tomorrow brings, a job loss, a storm, or a widespread supply disruption, you have a fully functional, nutrient-rich pantry foundation that can sustain your family for weeks or even months. Take that list, start with 5 items today, and watch your peace of mind grow with every small, smart addition. Don't prepare for the end of the world, prepare for the next Tuesday when the truck doesn't show up. That's the preparation that actually matters. While everyone else is dropping hundreds of dollars on freeze-dried meals and trendy prepper kits that might not even taste good, you now know 17 items sitting at Walmart right now for under $50 total that will actually keep you fed, sane, and ahead of the crowd. Drop a comment and tell me which one of these you are going to grab first. And next week I'm exposing the 7 prepper items that everyone swears by, but are completely useless when things actually go wrong. You are not going to want to miss that.